Welcome to this edition of Miles Ahead, and you join us this time in Woking. It's where H.G. Wells, this guy, wrote War of the Worlds. And it's home to the world's most famous pizza restaurant, where non-perspiring members of the royal family come when they're definitely absolutely not touching children. But for the purposes of this channel, Woking is the home of McLaren, and we're here to look at this, the McLaren 720S Spider. We're going to have a quick look around the exterior, we'll have a look at the interior, and we'll take it for a spin as well. We'll start with some facts and figures up front. This car starts at £245,000. This being the press car, does have a few optional extras that I'll point out as we go round. This tips the scales at £297,000. So, what do you get for your money? Well, arguably one of the best supercars on the planet, if not the best. Bad reviews of this car are rare as hen's teeth. I feel like I've said that about a few cars recently. This very much fits the description. It's a fantastic machine, but you know, not without its foibles, particularly in the build quality department, which we'll have a close look at as we go round. So it's got 720 PS horsepower, or 710 brake horsepower in old money. It's powered by a twin turbocharged 4-litre V8, also produces 770 Newton meters of torque. That's all about the performance of this car, and it's an outright savage in that department. 0 to 60, 2.8 seconds, 0 to 124, 7.9 seconds, standing quarter mile, 10.4 seconds. Is every inch a supercar. But we'll start by having a quick look round, as I mentioned. So the most immediate option to point out is the Helios orange paint. That comes in at £7,000. I wouldn't go for orange personally, but I think it really suits the McLaren. There's something distinctively McLaren about it. One of the exterior carbon fibre options to note, the front splitter twinned with the carbon fibre at the rear, which we'll have a look at in a minute. That comes in at £9,160. We'll just have a quick look at the front storage facility as well. So there's 158 litres of storage space in there. You can get a weekend bag in there. You may even get 2 weekend bags in there. And close that properly. There we go. As we come around the side, you'll notice there's carbon fibre effects on here. That's all part of the exterior carbon fibre pack. So you get these 19-inch wheels, so they're diamond satin cut. That's a £1,600 upgrade, the 10-spoke, part of the luxury pack, I think. And you can see more of the carbon fibre effects on the wing mirrors here. So you'll notice also, if we come back round to the front quickly, you notice the way the air is channeled all the way around the side of the car here, and it just disappears down the gap there. And it's a bit weird at first when you're driving it, because you're expecting this to be the edge of the car, but then you've got this extra bit to look down as well. But yeah, so you get quite an imposing view out of the wing mirrors as well. Now, we did mention a couple of the build quality issues. So if we come around to the door here, you can see that it's not quite aligned across here and along here. Things aren't quite where they should be. You probably notice it more if you come around to this side. You can just see it doesn't quite sit right across there and on there, just ever so slightly out, and same with this bit here as well, and the lip across here. They're just not quite aligned, but you know, is that going to put you off? I don't know. Anyway, open the doors, these lovely light dihedral doors, and one good thing that they've thought of is when you've not got the roof down, you can open the tonneau here, and you get an extra 50 litres of storage space, which brings the total storage capacity of the McLaren 720S Spider up to just over 200 litres. So you can load it up to that height there. I think that's a really clever idea. You do, however, get quite a bit of engine heat in there, so if you're transporting chocolate or something like that, best to stick that in the front trunk. We'll close those doors. I do like the dihedral doors, it's a lovely mechanism on those. You've got 19-inch wheels at the rear. Obviously, come around, this is fitted with the sports exhausts, so they're a £4,000 upgrade above and beyond, and then the carbon fibre to complement the carbon fibre pack that we saw on the front splitter as well. All in all, I think this is a fantastic looking car. It's got real presence to it, but without being too large on the road. It's only 2.1 metres wide, 4.5 metres long, and it weighs under 1,500 kilograms as well. So, cliche alert, it does feel very much like a go-kart when you're driving it, which is great because it's a super powerful, nutty go-kart. Yeah, I think it's got the looks to suit it as well. So this rear spoiler pops up as well under braking. It comes right up to assist the air braking, and with the aero pack as well, it pops up slightly to assist with downforce at higher speeds. But anyway, I think that's enough of the exterior. Let's see what it's like inside. So this is the interior of the McLaren 720S Spider, and I have to say, I think they've done a really nice job in here. It's a nice place to be, very driver focused, which is exactly what you'd want of a car like this. So we'll have a look at the key as well. So there's your McLaren key, and there is a little slot for it just down here, which is very convenient so that you don't lose it. But we'll just start it up quickly. Get that raspy V8 straight away. I don't know if it'll come through on the audio, but you get this constant electrical whine that seems to come from down there somewhere. I haven't been able to work out how to turn it off where it's coming from, but normally you're driving fast enough that you don't have to hear it. We'll start with the electrochromic roof, because this is £7,500 option on here. So you press the button there, it gets much lighter. Press it again, it gets much darker. But of course we can do away with the roof altogether. So this should go down in 11 seconds. So everything pops up, and you can do this up to 31 miles an hour, which is, yeah, very handy. That's very quick. You do get these foam bits sort of poke out of the top though, and you do feel like you want to poke them back in. But anyway, it's very easy to do when you're on the go. But yeah, so we'll get back to the driver's seat here. So we've got the electric steering rack. That is part of the convenience pack, which comes in at £4,900. So what else does that get you? That gets you the Bowers & Wilkins 12 speaker stereo system. That works really well. It's nice and loud. It's obviously handy when you've got the roof down. What else have we got in there? The power adjust steering and park assist. So if I pop it into reverse, so you get the reversing camera up here, and you also get the 360 sensors around there as well, and it also gives you the vehicle lift. So there's a button on the stalk here, so if I stick that back into D for a second, put it into neutral even, press the button on the stalk here, and that just lifts the car. I don't know if you'll be able to see it at the moment, but it just lifts everything up. We'll touch upon that on a drive along. I think that's a must-have feature on here. So to go with the exterior carbon pack, there's also the interior carbon pack. So if you notice, all this bit's in carbon fibre as well, and there's a secondary interior carbon pack which gets you the steering wheel here, carbon fibre, and the bits around the driver display, carbon fibre, and around here, carbon fibre as well. And one good thing as well, press the button over here, the driver display twists around, so you can have a much more driver focused display here. So it just gives you the speed, what gear you're in, and how many revs you're doing. But if you want a bit more information, such as how far you've gone, MPG and all that sort of stuff, that is available here. Drive modes are selectable down here, infotainment system, touch screen, very easy to use, easy to get to grips with, it works. And the only other option to point out is the MSO defined contrast stitching. So you notice this nice orange stitching on the seats. It does cost £4,000 though, and I think it's quite nice, the same colour as the orange in the exterior. So if you want those things to match, definitely something to consider ticking. Air vents are bit plasticky, but you know, otherwise they're fine. The heating system does work really well, which again you need, because if you're driving around with the roof down, so it's April at the moment, it's a bit cooler in the evenings, but I've wanted to have the roof down, so I have had the heating on full whack, so that keeps things nice and warm as well. But you're not buying a McLaren 720S Spider on the strength of the interior and its contrast stitching. You want to know what it's like to drive. So what's the 720S like to drive? Well, we'll start with the engine note. It's really quite sonorous when you get to the higher rev range. I'm going to close the rear window now to reduce the wind noise, just have that open. That's a really nice feature to have actually when you're driving along, because when you do flick it round into sport mode, you can just open that rear window and you do hear a bit more from that exhaust. As you've probably read elsewhere or heard elsewhere, it's not the most sonorous V8 engine on the market. When you're just trundling around town, you wouldn't necessarily hear it. When you just leave it to its own devices in comfort mode, it so quickly spins up to 7th gear and it just trundles along quite nicely. Now the plus side of that is you actually can achieve quite reasonable MPG in this if you're just cruising along. I think if you did a motorway run, you would be looking at about 30 MPG, which is pretty astonishing for a car like this. But you know, it's not why you're getting one of these, is it? You're getting it so you can do a bit more of this sort of stuff, and it just rifles through the gears so beautifully as well. And then the gearbox is an absolute delight. It's a 7-speed box, but the changes are just instant on the way down. They really are. They really bring you close to the driving experience. It's such an engaging car to drive, and the paddles play a part in that. And then that also brings us onto the steering. I mean, as it always does with McLarens, the steering is an absolute tour de force. I mean, no one does it better, I don't think, on these sorts of cars, because they still use the electro-hydraulic racks. A lot of other manufacturers have gone to pure electro for, you know, they're more efficient fuel savings. That's the way of the world these days, but McLaren have stuck with a hydraulic element to it, and they're just all the better for it. We're out on a B road at the moment, and the wheel's just constantly alive in your hands, and you can place the car so easily because the visibility out of this car is sensational as well. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. You don't necessarily think, oh, supercar, I'm going to be able to see out of this. You sort of go back to the old Lamborghinis, the Diablos and the Countachs, people with the doors open looking out for reversing. There's none of that with this. It's such an easy car to get to grips with. And the plus side of that again is that you can drive it at any speed and enjoy it. You don't have to drive it on the edge to, you know, get the most from this car, although obviously that does help. You know, it is a car that you can drive on the edge, and it does like to be driven there as well, and it will just sit there and take what you throw at it, and it's astonishing. And it's so fast. I mean, it just picks up speeds alarmingly quickly. So as we mentioned at the top, 0 to 60 is ticked off in 2.8 seconds, 0 to 124 is ticked off in 7.9 seconds, a quarter mile's done with in 10.4 seconds. The numbers are outright lunacy, and the car just lives up to it. I mean, it feels that quick, and it's accessible. You can feel like you can get that power down. There's something really confidence inspiring about it that just encourages you to put that power down on the road. And the brakes as well come into it as well, because they do such a good job as they need to. You know, the carbon ceramics on it are superb, and you've got the air brake at the back, so when you're doing higher speeds and you start to brake, the rear spoiler pops up to aid with your slowing downness, which is good. Another handy feature of this. But I mean, all in all, the ride quality, I should probably touch upon that as well. It is firm, but it is a supercar, but it's not too firm. It's not as, you do see sort of potholes when you're scanning the road, and you do start to think, oh god, this is going to shudder right through the cabin, and you know, it doesn't. It's not as bad. It's never as bad as you think it's going to be, which is a good thing. And the nose lift as well, if you're ticking the options list on one of these, that is an absolute must-have, essential. Get that box ticked, because if you're in any built-up area where there are speed bumps and that sort of thing, just press the button on the stalk, the nose lifts up, and you can get over speed bumps into car parks and that sort of thing just so easily, in a way that, you know, I've still found myself wincing going over speed bumps because of all that carbon fibre on the front and everything else. You know, there's thousands of pounds worth of carbon fibre on this thing, and you know, you don't want to be scraping it, but actually the ground clearance is absolutely spot on. So, I mean, in conclusion, I found this car a really easy car to drive. I think you could actually daily this car. I mean, if you're single and you haven't got any kids, then you know, you could use this car every day. There's nothing outright intimidating about it. Flick everything round to comfort, and it's a perfectly amenable car. But you know, flick it round into sport, or if you're feeling really fruity, track, and you can really unleash a bit of hell in this car, and it is just so fast. There's so much traction to work with. There's zero body roll when you're threading it along a decent B road. It's just, I found it an enjoyable car to drive in most settings. You know, a couple of drawbacks with elements of build quality issues, which are well documented with the McLarens, but I mean, the overall driving experience, I've got to say, is absolutely spot on. I mean, as a supercar, I mean, this has got to be right near the top of the pile. It's absolutely superb, stunningly good, so fast. You feel like you can get that power down, you thread it along a decent B road, you can sit there and cruise along in sort of GT modes. It's fine. It just ticks so many boxes in that respect. Yeah, I knew I'd like this car. I was lucky enough to take it on track at Millbrook at the end of last year, and it hasn't disappointed out on the road either. It's got quite a multifaceted drive to it. Yeah, it's been really good. But last word, as always with McLarens, to the steering. I am in love with the steering setup on this car. The wheels constantly live in your hands, and twin that with the visibility, you know where the front wheels are looking out all the time. It's so easy to place, and yeah, it's a really, really well thought out car from the driver's perspective, and yeah, I've loved having it, and it's an absolutely superb supercar. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit like, and please also consider subscribing. We've got loads of videos on the channel, and we've got loads more coming up as well. So yeah, please hit subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks.